We could be legend. I have nothing to lose. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. Wake up. I know what's real. Escape reality. Hardwired. We used to look up at the sky and wonder at our place in the stars. This is the world you've made yourself. Now you have to live in it. The end is in our sights. The future is already here. No matter how hard we tried, we are doomed. Say your goodbyes. Brace yourself. I can see the end inside. Hardwired.
Dust on the floor can become airborne. Grab it with Swiffer Sweeper. The extra thick, heavy-duty cloths trap all kinds of dust, dirt, and hair on contact. See you, dust! And Swiffer partners with the American Lung Association to support clean air.
Want to know the secret to making sure
Hey
everything
folks,
at Kroger is
how's everybody
fresh?
doing today? Sorry for those ads. How you doing? Yeah, Yuki, if you like VS Code, you can go for it, for sure. Yeah, it's not going to have all the exact same tools when we start getting to GUI programming, but there's a quick workaround. So, hey, Trahana. Hey, Zero. How you folks doing today? Happy Monday. Let's see. We've got a couple things on tap today. Grab this. There we go. Make sure we get the right class. There we go. Now we're back to music, so I can pause that. All right. Oh, make sure it's not muted. There we go. Alrighty. Yeah, good evening. Maybe it's gonna load. Come on. D2L. Wake up. There we go. So my apologies, I do not have your assignments in yet. Behind. We're working on getting those ones in as we go. The next project due next week by 6 p.m. for Project 2, and I'll be working on getting caught up here on Project 1 this week for you folks. Awesome, got 31 submissions, awesome, very good. So let's take a look at our schedule. We should be here in Chapter 5 Methods, if I remember right. Let's take a quick peek. All right, so we're at methods. So we've done loops and files. That's what we're doing with Project 2. We're about methods, Chapter 5 tonight. Should be a relatively short night. Shouldn't go super long for the chapter. There's a lot to do with methods, but there's let's see, the quizzes, Silver. Let me take a look. Quiz 1 should be in the grade book, but 2, 3, and 4 have not yet gotten in there. Those are to be graded still. Your quiz from Chapter 4 due tonight, 11:59 p.m. So one last reminder, make sure you get that one in, please. Yeah, you should see scores for Quiz 1. If you're not, let me know, Silver. I can take a look and see what's up with that. All right, and this is actually the 1/3 mark of the class here, right? Because we didn't have Memorial Day, so out of 15, it's actually out of 14, which is really unfortunate, but that's okay. This is essentially week 5, right? If we skip the week we had off. No, maybe I pushed the wrong button on Silver. I can look and see when I'm not streaming. Just shoot me a note, would you? Or DM me in Discord or something, or email me. I'll take a look and see. You don't see it either on Loco? Okay. What did I screw up? It says they're graded. Here, let me do this. Put it on the other screen real quick. That ought to work, right? Let's see what I did wrong. Should be set to... Oh, no, I did not check the box that says allow automatic exports to grades, because why would you not want them to export to grades? So give me half a second, and I'll see if I can get those to publish to grades. Okay, so now you should see the scores there for Quiz 1. Let me know if you don't, okay? Let me know. Okay, this shows up now. Awesome. All right, yep, so we're going to talk about methods tonight. Methods are fantastic. I'm a big fan of methods. They let us get a little bit more into this idea of breaking our code apart into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces to solve the small pieces. All right, cool. Sorry about that. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. So there's an amazing term that is probably one of the best technical terms that you can use at a dinner party, because everyone will just roll their eyes at you and be like, nerd. It's called functional decomposition. The idea is we're going to take a big problem and decompose it into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller problems, because it's easy to solve small problems and hard to solve big problems, especially when it comes to computers. Remember, computers are pretty dumb, and we have to tell them line by line by line by line exactly what to do, otherwise they get confused easily. So if we can take a big problem and break it down into smaller problems to solve, it makes life a lot easier for us and for the computer. And we're going to use methods to do that. So we start up a new project. Let's make sure it goes in the 1500 repo here. Call this one method, or Chapter 5 methods maybe. Chapter 5 methods. Maybe they should be named nice. Awesome. So everything we've done so far has been inside of this public static void main string args. Okay, this is the main method. So this here is a method. It's part of this class. I think we talked about that real briefly in chapter 1 and then said forget about it. We're going to get more into it later. So what we can do is we can add methods here in our class. So instead of being inside this set of curly braces here for main, they belong inside the class curly braces here. Okay? So what we can do is we can take a bigger problem and break it down into smaller problems. So a lot of times you might be prompting the user for a number, right? We do this all the time, and it gets a little tedious to have to do all those conversions every time. You know, here's the output. So like what we were doing, right? If we said enter the price of an item, right? And then we had our scanner. We called it keyboard. There's a new scanner. Given system.in. And then we said, oh, yeah, I got to import scanner. Yes, please, NetBeans. And then we said, okay, well, now I need my double price is double.parseDouble, because parsing is always going to be easier than using the scanner next int, next double. So then we can give it keyboard.nextLine. So whatever we get back from nextLine, right, gets handed to double.parseDouble here. So nextLine is actually a method that we're calling in the scanner class. Don't worry, we'll get it to classes next week. That's okay. Double.parseDouble is a method, and we're giving it a string here. Right? You can give it any sort of string. It doesn't have to come from the scanner object here. You could give it like the string 23.2 or something, or 0.3. I don't know, whatever. Right? And they would parse this. It's fine because it's calling this method. Okay? And we know that keyboard.nextLine returns something, so we can give it to double.parseDouble, which returns something which we can assign to double price. And sure, we can do this, but you know, it's a little bit annoying to have to do this every single time, and it'd be nice if I could take this problem and separate it out. Right? Well, we can. We can write our own method then. So we're going to say public static. For now, they're all static. We'll get to when they're not static next chapter, in chapter 6. So public static, and then public means that we can call them. And technically, it doesn't have to be public for now, but until we talk about classes, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we'll just say public static, and then it can either be void. Void means it doesn't return something, or it could be something that we want to return. So if we want to return a double, it'd be public static double. I don't know what, prompt for price. Set of parentheses, and then it gets its own set of curly braces. All right, cool, thanks. I'll be done in a minute. I'll be done in a minute. So when we prompt for price here in this method, we're going to return a double. Because we said this is the type. If we said void, it means we don't return anything. So you can have void methods, you can have value returning methods. Either one are perfectly fine. Yep, I'll show you in just a second. So like when we call double.parseDouble, it returns a value so that we can assign to price. So we're going to do that same thing. So I'm going to say, here, we'll enter the price of an item. I'm actually going to take all of that out here. And then we use this return keyword. The return keyword says, what are you giving back? Right? And it needs to be the type that you told it here. So I said, hey, I'm going to give you a double. I'll give you a double here. I'm going to return a double. So now in main, I can say here double price equals. And instead of doing all of this other stuff, I can use the name of my method. So it's not double.parseDouble, it's prompt for price. We'll say prompt for price. Yeah, if it's a void method, you can't return anything. That would just do this, and that would be it. But this way now I can assign the value of price to whatever I get back from my method prompt for price. Yep, yeah, main it is a void method. It doesn't return anything. Yep. Yeah, if you work with C++ at all, their main method actually does return an integer value. So it's in C++ it's public static int main because it returns an integer value. It's just a fun fact for you. Yep, but main doesn't return anything. So my method here, prompt for price, then I can use this as often as I want. Here, so I can say, okay, here's prompt for price, and then I double, I don't know, another price, prompt for price. So now I don't have to have the exact same code here more than once, and I'm going to feel better about myself, right? Because anytime you have the same code twice, you should feel bad about yourself. That's the general rule of thumb when it comes to programming. Yeah, so if we tried to return like a string here, it's going to yell at us. It's going to say, incompatible types. String cannot be converted to double. Because we told it we would return a double. So it's only going to let us return a double. Now, technically, you can return an integer. Because an integer fits inside of a double. So you can store an int as a double if you want. But you can't go the other way around. So if we said, hey, I want an int, and I'm going to return a double here, it's going to yell at us and say, possible lossy conversion from double to int. Because you can't fit a double inside of an int. You can fit an int inside of a double, but you can't fit a double inside of an int. Yep, so it's just saying, hey, I'm going to return some kind of value. It's going to be a double. I'll return you a double. And we can use it as anytime we want to prompt for a price. Here, we can use our method prompt for price. The other cool thing you can do with methods is you can give it an argument. So like when we did double.parseDouble, right? Inside the parentheses, we gave it something. We gave it a string. Or even system.out.println. This is a method, println, we give it a string inside the parentheses. You'd need to have something here. It's got to be void or a type. It's got to be void or a type. So public static, returning type or void, and then the name of the method. And just like our variable names, we're going to name our methods the same way. Start with lowercase, and then do the camel casing. Every next word gets a capital letter. Okay? All right, give me just a second, folks. I'm sorry. We're a little late running on dinner. I got to go grab a slider real quick. I'll be back in like 3 minutes, okay? Let me put on some music for you. My schedule's all screwed up today. I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
Too late, begging on the floor for me. I'm not the same. I'm standing on my own 2 feet. I'm taking back my life. All you do is use it. You're breaking and losing. Sorry, your time is up. Now I'm coming back to life. I'm taking back my life. Now I'm coming back to life.
Hey folks, sorry about that. Check out this little slider. How cool is that? Alright, had to get them while it's hot. Otherwise they're definitely not as good. So, alright. So talk about methods. Right, so this is a returning method because we're returning a double. And I said, with double.parseDouble, you can give it, this is called an argument. Right? We're saying, please take this thing, here in this case a string, and I'll give you back a double. So in our method, if we want arguments, we, inside the set of parentheses, can list out the arguments that we want. Say, okay, hey, give me a string for the item name. So instead of saying enter the price of an item, I'll say enter the price of, and then I'm going to append in here item name. So if you give me an item name, I will include that in my prompt here. So if you have an argument here, you can use this variable name inside the method anywhere you want. So then I can say, hey, this is, for sliders. Enter the price for sliders, and then how about the price for water? I'm going to be thirsty in a minute. No, my wife makes them. They're Hawaiian rolls that you slice down the middle, and then you do like the cheese and the meats, and this one's actually a pesto one. Pesto turkey, I think. Or roast turkey and pesto. No, there's no White Castles on my way. I'd have to drive a bit of a drive to get there. Hydration, yeah, you got it. Thank you so much for the reminder. Uh-oh. I'm on my last can. I'm going to be in trouble. Thanks, Veta. All right. So if we give it an argument here, inside the method then, this will represent item name when the method runs. Right, so it'll be sliders the first time I call it. It'll be water the second time I call it. Yeah, Livonia. Oh, I'm local. Yeah, you're right next door to me. I'm over in Wixom, not too far from Walled Lake. Yeah, Livonia. Is that the one that's off of 696? Or no, 96. 96 in Telegraph. Is that where that one is? I think that's Livonia. There's also the White Castle right by the IKEA in Canton. If you want to get IKEA and Middle Belt. Okay, 96 in Middle Belt. That's right. I drive past it all the time when I head into Dearborn. Their chicken rings are phenomenal. Oh, Zero. That's probably a good thing they're not half a mile from me, because I fall for their chicken rings real hard. Food is never a distraction. Food is definitely, this is what we're talking about here. We're prompting for the price of sliders. Okay, and now I can run this. White Castle's so bad. It'll say, hey, enter the price of sliders. Because I called the method prompt for price, and I gave it sliders as the argument here. So inside the method, item name now represents sliders. Okay, so what's the price of sliders? How about, what is it, 89 cents? Okay, enter the price of water. And of course, water costs more than the sliders at White Castle, because that makes all sorts of sense. Ian, say hi. Say hi, baby. Hi. Oh, he doesn't. Okay, he's not in the mood. So maybe $1.25 for water. There we go. And I can do something with those variables or values. I could write them out to a file if you're doing that sort of thing, right? Okay, so we're able to take this method here and reuse the code. It is expensive to be healthy. Yeah, that is crazy. Fresh food, because it's perishable, is expensive, versus all the processed food with all sorts of preservatives. That's the more expensive stuff, or the cheaper stuff, right? Instead of the fresh stuff. Hi, Ian. Hi, baby. He's having all sorts of fun. I don't know if you can actually hear him. He's purring, but I don't know if it's picking up on the mic or not. No, maybe not. Chemicals. Some preservatives, though, are super wonderful. The preservative they put in the big packs of shredded cheese at Costco, the mold inhibitor. I guess it's technically not a preservative, it's just a mold inhibitor. Yeah, it'd be better if healthy food was cheaper, for sure. Definitely. We have some weird incentives for food, but okay. All right, so our methods here, like prompt for price. Okay, you give it the item name, and we'll enter the price of the item. Great. Let's see, what were other things we were doing with our shopping cart? Right, how about a method here that returns a string? Public static string prompt for item name. Okay, so if I don't want any arguments, you just empty set of parentheses. If you want an argument, you put it in here. So the problem with methods here now is that this scanner needs to be created inside the method or at the class level. We haven't really talked about that, so don't worry too much about it here. There's a way to define it once outside of a method, but I think it's probably easier for us to just say, hey, we're just going to define it every time inside. So you might see examples where people do that. Okay, so I'll show you. So it looks like this. You would say static scanner keyboard equals new scanner given system.in. System.in. There it is. And then you can use keyboard everywhere else. Here you don't have to redeclare it this in here. We could still just use keyboard, and it uses this one. Yeah, 0. We all want to be famous, don't we? Yeah. Actually, I feel like a terrible person, but like I tell my kids, you really don't want to be famous. You don't want to be a movie star. You don't want to be a professional sports person who's famous. Like, that's just miserable. Yeah, they make a lot of money, but like to get there, the investment you have to put in to get to that level, and then to have people like following you around and caring about all the things that you do in your life, that just sounds miserable to me. Like, I'm happy to not be famous. Oh no, my internet. Oh, my back. Come on, internet. Rich but not famous. Yes, yeah. Yeah, the paparazzi people, that sounds insane. Yes, log in with Twitch. Hey, I'm trying. It might be coming back. Might be, maybe. Hey, are we back? No? Had some good signal for a minute there. Anything now? Reset my Wi-Fi here. I think we're back. How's it looking now? Any better? Maybe? Oh, yellow back to green. Alright, cool. Sorry about that. That is weird. Okay, maybe that wasn't Comcast. All I did was turn off my Wi-Fi. I'm back on again. That's weird. But I did not get all the messages yet. Oh, that's weird. All right, well, let's keep going then. All right, so if we wanted the prompt for item name, and if you declare this value as static at the class level, you can use it inside your methods. Okay, so sometimes you'll see it that way, other times you'll just redeclare it here. Maybe it's Comcast, I'm not sure. So like the messages go to the overlay in Stream Elements, but by computer in OBS is using the Stream Elements background. Essentially, it's using that image that's being sent. So if my computer was lagging and I wasn't getting the messages from Stream Elements, it would lag. Hi, Ian. All right, so if we're gonna, yeah, AT&T is the only other choice, and they only offer 30 megabit over their like old DSL connection. They don't have their AT&T fiber yet. Come on, buddy. Come on, big guy. So I wish I could get something better, but yeah, I'm stuck with Comcast for now. All right, so if we want to prompt for item name, right, we could use that scanner object that we have here already. Sure. So we'll say, hey, enter the name of an item. Okay, and then we'll get the keyboard next line result, and I mean, we can just return it, right? We can just return keyboard.nextLine. This one's not super fancy, but anything we get back from keyboard next line, we're just going to return as our prompt for item name. And then what we can do, we can take prompt for item name, and we can even put it inside here, because prompt for item name will return a string, and the string then is given to prompt for price, which accepts a string argument. And then we'll get the double for prices here. Again, if you're like making files or something, that sort of thing, you probably want to keep the item name separate, so maybe that's not ideal. Maybe you want a string for item name, prompt for item name, and then we give it item name, because that way you'll have item name for use later, right? You could, either way is okay, depending on what you need to do. So if you need to keep item name for use later, save it. If you don't, you can put it right inside, and you can call a method that gives it to another method, just like we're doing with double.parseDouble. We're calling a method, giving it the result of another method, keyboard.nextLine, right? What we get back from this method is given right to the parseDouble method. Okay, now it should ask us, hey, enter the name of an item. And then we can come up with our own names here. So we'll do sliders for 89 cents, and water for $1.25. Okay, again, we're not really doing anything with it here in main, but that's okay so far. Okay? Right, another really cool thing you can do with methods, public static, we'll do another string here. We'll call this one the menu. And the idea with the menu is we will display the menu, right? And we're going to do the input validation inside of this menu here. So we're going to have a string for choice. We're going to say like it equals, I don't know, how about n? Sure, doesn't matter. And we'll say while choice.equals ignore case, and while it doesn't equal, how about I don't know, we had two choices. We wanted to shop, right, while it equals ignore case, while it does not equal shop, right, and it does not equal manage. So if it's not shop and it's not manage, this is true. The while loop will run. Okay, actually I can just give it an empty string, right? So I'm doing this validation loop here, where we're going to ask them, enter shop or I don't know, do you want to shop or manage? Shop or manage. And then we can make choice equal the keyboard.nextLine. And if it's not shop and it's not manage, it'll ask them again. Yeah, I mean, you don't need to use methods at all for project 2. I'm just trying to show you like this sort of example. We could use a method here to do the menu of shop or manage, and inside that method, here's our validation loop. Eventually, we're going to give something that is equal to shop, and this would be true, not true, means false, right? Because we're saying not here. So not true would be false. And if either side of an and is false, the whole thing is false, right? So if you want fries and a burger, you say no because McDonald's fries are nasty. I don't want them both. No, but fries or a burger, sure. I'll take the juicy quarter pounder, right? Yeah, the user's entering everything for project 2. They're entering all the items, they're entering all the prices, and then for shopping, they're entering all the things they want to buy. And we're trying to look up to see if that file exists, if there's a price. Yeah, for sure. Yep, you don't need methods to do project 2. I just wanted to show you like some of these things are applicable, and we can do it this sort of way. And when we're done, we can return choice. Now, because I have this validation loop, I know choice will either be shop or manage, which is nice. So then I can have a string for choice is equal to menu. Menu here. Now, this choice is different from this choice. So remember, when you declare a variable, it is usable in where the curly braces it was declared in. Like these curly braces define scope. Just like if we had an if block and you could declare a variable inside the if block, you couldn't use it outside the if block. So choice here is different from this choice here. They have the same name, but this choice only exists inside this method, menu. This choice exists inside the main method. So it's okay to use the same name, right? They're not going to clobber each other or anything like that because they have different scopes, right? They were defined in different sets of curly braces, right? And then, sure, if choice dot equals ignore case manage, right? We could then do this prompting thing. Again, that's a whole other loop, that sort of thing, but that's fine, right? Just trying to give you some ideas of things you can do with methods that are very useful. Yeah, yep, they shop for items that were created in manage mode. So if you don't run manage mode and you go right to shop mode, there's nothing to buy. But if you manage, then it'll make a bunch of files, and then next time you run shop mode, you can go buy those things that they're files for. So manage mode is going to create the items. You'll say, I want to sell an item of this name, and it's this price. You'll make a file with that name, and you'll write the price to the file. So that in shop mode, you can go see if their file exists. If it does, add the price to your running total for when they check out. So you can go to Lowe's and buy a new grill for Father's Day. It's, you lose some of the excitement there, but, then you get to pick out the grill that you want, which is pretty fun. Okay. Now the other fun thing you can do, let's do public static void method A, and we're just going to print A, and then I'm going to have public static void method B, and we're going to print B, and then I'll have public static void method C that prints curly brace there, sorry, that prints C. Then when I can do my methods, A can call B. B can call C if I want, right? So a method can call another method. How to understand what to put into the braces in the menu here? So we just wrote menu. So menu does this input validation for us to make sure that we're only getting the choices that we want back out. Right? So you can shop or manage. And if it's not shop and it's not manage, it's going to just prompt you again. Prompt you again, prompt you again. So this is what we talked about last week with these validation loops. So we can use a method here. Again, the whole idea with methods is that I can break apart a big problem and decompose it into smaller and smaller and smaller problems that are easier to solve. So solving a validation loop here is an easier problem to solve, and then I can use this later on. Right? Prompting for price. Sure, right? I will output something, and I will convert it to a double, and then I can give them back the double. That way, anytime I want, I can just prompt for price. Right? Prompting for item name. So it gives me these reusable bits. So methods are useful because they put a name to what you're doing. Right? You get a name. Just like variable names are useful because the variable name should tell you what the variable is doing, what it's for. the name of the method should tell you what it's for. So we're putting a nice name to this chunk of code, right? Prompt for item name. Sure, if we only ever use it once, that's okay, right? A benefit of methods is that it's reusable. Oh, these ands here? Yeah, this is not shop and not manage. Public static void main. So in main is where, again, main is where our program is going to start. So main, the first line of main is the first thing our program does. When you call a method, it's going to jump to that method and do the thing inside the method until the method's done, and it'll come back and pick it right back up where it left off. So if we put a breakpoint in here, so you come over to the line numbers and put a breakpoint. You just click there, put the big fat red dot. Instead of hitting run, you hit run with debug. We're going to watch it run in debug mode, and we can watch it do that jumping, which is super cool. So right now, we're waiting to run this line. So currently, we are, where's my call stack? We're at main line 11. Now I don't want to step over. I want to use the step into. Now that we have, yeah, menu returns a string because we said menu is a string returning type instead of void. So void doesn't return anything. String returns a string. Okay, so we're here. Now I want to step into the method. So I'm going to step into, and we'll see Java actually remembers, hey, I left off here at line 11 of main. Now I'm in menu at line 35. (14 to 17). When we did string for item name. Oh, 0, yeah, sorry, that's stuff from, chapter 3 was these logical operators, ands, ors, and nots. It was all chapter 3, if you're looking for it in the book. So line 14 to 17. So here we said, hey, I want item name is prompt for item name, and I'll give that item name to my prompt for price. At line 16, we just said, hey, I don't need to keep it around. I'm just going to prompt, and then I'll give that result to the prompt for price. The red line is a breakpoint. Yep. So when Java gets there, it will pause, and then we can run it line by line by line. So the green line is your current line. Now we're here, and we can step, and we can step, and we can step, and we can step. And now in my output, it's going to say, hey, go and do something. Where's my chapter 5? Here we go. Let's do shop. Okay, so now I can see the choice here is shop, right? In debug mode, you can see the value of your variables. So my variable choice is now shop. And we'll step. The while loop is no longer true because choice equal ignore case shop is true. Not true is false. Anything in an and that's false, and the whole thing is false. Then we're going to return choice, and we're going to see we go from line 42 back to where we left off here at line 11. Main. Now when I step, now choice here in main is now shop. And if it was managed, it does something. It was not managed. There's nothing else for it to do. It's done. Right, so we should call method A so we can watch that run, right? So I'm going to move my breakpoint here to method A. I'm going to run it with debug mode again. Let's go to my menu here. We go to shop. Okay, if we're going to go to method A, I'm going to step in. So we're at method A, line 23. We're going to print A, and then I want to step in to method B. Step in. So now we're at method B, line 28. When we're done with that, we're going to come back to method A, line 24. When we're done with that, we'll come back to main, line 19. So step, step. This one just prints C. So this one will be done here, right? We're at line 34. That one's done. We come back to B at 30. That one's done. We come back to A at 24. Now that's done. We're at 25. Now we're done with that one. We come back to main at 19. And we're done. And we see in our output, we get ABC. So we call the method. So these are void methods. They don't return anything. They do something. Right? And a method can call a method, which can call a method, which can call a method. You can go nuts, right? Anywhere that you want, you can call a method that you've defined. Like, so method B could also call menu. Sure, why not? Right, so the idea is we're taking a big problem and breaking it into smaller and smaller and smaller chunks, making it easier to solve. Okay, the other thing we can do then, right, we can do this even further because methods are useful because they put a name to what's happening. They give me reusable code. And if the only thing that's different is, say, like the item name, right, I can also use an argument. So if the code is similar, not identical, but it's similar in everything is the same except a variable, I can just give it a variable as an argument here. So technically, this here is called a parameter. I'm saying I need a parameter here, and when you provide it, this is the argument. I find that distinction confusing, and I honestly forget half the time. So right here, I'm giving it an argument. It's a parameter when it's defined. I just call them all arguments. Forgive me, but I think that just makes life easier. And most people know what you're talking about if you say arguments. Parameters too, sure. We can use them interchangeably. I'm not going to be upset if you call them one or the other. Well, what's needed for each item? I'm going to write another method, public static. We'll just do this avoid method. We'll call this manage. And I'm just going to do all of this here inside of manage. So if the choice was manage, we'll call the manage method. Else if my choice was shop, we'll call a shop method. I don't have one yet, so we go write one. So public static void shop. Shop for items. ... right? Like this sort of idea. We're kind of breaking down the big problem and making it smaller and smaller and smaller steps. Method A, method B, method C. What was needed? They're just void methods because we're not returning any values here. We're just doing this print here, and then we're done. Oh, just to show you that a method can call another method, and that method can call another method. And Java will remember as it's going through the methods, right? It's still going line by line by line. But a method call says, okay, jump to this line and come back when you're done. So when you have a method, it's doing that line. It's going to jump to the method code, do the method line, and then come back to where it left off and keep on going. Just to show you, so we're still doing things in order, right? But the idea is now we can like jump to certain places and do that thing and then come back. So if you look here, like this code itself in main, you don't even have to know what shop and menu and those other methods are. If you just read main, you can see, okay, it does a menu, and then if the choice is manage, we do the manage thing. If the choice is shop, we do the shop thing, and then a method A thing. Like really quickly, when you're reading code, you can get a quick gist of, hey, what is this method, or what is this code doing here by it's calling this method, it's calling this method, calling this method, calling this method. No, methods aren't loops. You can put a loop inside of a method. Like we did a loop inside of this method here. It just lets us break apart and chunk off, hey, this bit of code will run when you say menu. So this code runs when I say menu. You don't have to have methods at all, but it lets us take big problems and break them into smaller problems. So the idea of, hey, do they enter shop or manage? And I want to make sure they only give me shop or manage. I'm going to do this little validation loop thing here. I can put all of that into the menu method and separate that out to solve that problem separately here. So the other benefit is it makes your code look a little cleaner too, because it's pretty easy to just scan main and say, okay, it's going to do this, it's going to do this, it's going to do this, if you have good method names. Manage isn't even like the best method name here, like manage items for sale, manage items for sale and prices. You can go nuts, right? So let's do that. Let's refactor, rename. I want to manage items for sale and set prices. Sure, why not? No one says there's a, as long as it fits on the screen, you're fine. Right? Manage items for sale and set prices. That's even better than manage, right? So shop, let's change that one too. Let's refactor rename. Refactor rename. So use the tool, right? If you change it here in ASDF, whatever, you have to go change it here. Same thing. And I typoed it because obviously, just doing gibberish. But if you use the tool, you right click and go to refactor rename. It's going to rename everywhere. So instead of shop, it's shop for items. Sure, why not? Now let's rename this one too. So refactor rename. Method A, example, methods, calling methods. Sure. Right, method A, example, methods, calling methods. Why not? I mean, B and C, yeah, we'll leave those alone if you want. That didn't sound good. I think my little guy just poured out a whole thing of pasta. Yeah, you like the names better? For sure. And it just makes it nice and readable here. So the other cool thing we can do, right? We can do, how about, this one's kind of silly, but why not? So int add numbers and give an int first number. If you want more than one argument, you just comma separate. So we'll say int second number. I'm just going to return first number plus second number. Again, a completely ridiculous method, but the idea is to show you if you want more than one argument, you just comma separate them. You can have as many as you want. I think there actually is a limit, but it's a lot. Have a max number of arguments. Let's see. Let's see what the internet says. 255. Okay. No more than 200. If you need that many, you've done something wrong, my friends. Right? It's just, no. Right? You should not need that many. Okay? So you just comma separate as many as you want. Go for it. Comma separate. Go for it. Comma separate. Go for it. So if you want to use methods, great. For your program too, go for it. If you don't, don't. That's okay. It's no big deal. You can do it all in main. That's perfectly fine. But I'm going to show you when I show you the solution next week. I'll show you when I show you next week. I'll do it all with methods because it's going to make my life easier to say, hey, here's a problem. How do I make a file with a certain name? And that can be a method. How do I write to that file? That can be a method. Or maybe that's all one method. I don't know. You can choose how you want to break it up yourself. How do I go and see if this file exists and get the price out of it? Sure. We can take a big problem and break it down into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces, method by method by method, and you can go nuts. Right? I'm kind of quite partial to a main method that only calls other methods. I think it makes things a whole lot more clear as to what the program's doing. And again, this just for people. Right? The code is for people. Java doesn't care if it's one giant main method or not. It will still go line by line by line, just like we tell it to. Right? We had all this stuff working before we had methods. Sure. But having the methods here gives us readability, I think is the best reason for methods, readability. Again, reducing redundant code. You're going to feel better about yourself if you don't have the same code twice. Right? If every time you had to prompt for a double and parse it here, you're going to get sick of copy pasting this line, double.parse double keyboard.next line. Blah. Right? Every time you type it, you're just going to, ugh. Or every time you copy paste it, probably. Right? Instead of, because you're not going to type it twice, just copy paste, be lazy. But now we have a method for it. Hey, you give me the name of the item, and I will prompt them for the price. Fantastic. Life is good. You with me so far? How's everyone feeling? Let's see. Making sure I didn't miss anything. Yep. Methods. This is a good one here. So an interesting thing about methods. If I want here, I can say first number plus equals 10. I can say second number minus equals 10. And then return first number plus second number. I'm going to get the same result, right? Because I can add a 10 to one, took 10 away from the other. But if I had two numbers, so int first it's like 42, and then second is, I don't know, how about 99? And then if I call add numbers, right, let's we'll just print out what we get here. So we're going to print out from add numbers, given first and second. And then I'm going to print out first. It's first, and I'm going to print out second plus second. I'm going to show you, they start at 42 and 99. KevMax, scrambled your egg. Is that like you're confused? Is that what that means? Superman? Watched again? Yeah, I mean, read the text, look at Mr. Gaddis's examples, come back, watch it again, for sure. But I want to show you first and second here. When we pass them to method, let's shop, right? Shop, sure. they still stay 42 and 99. But if we put a breakpoint in here, and I run this in debug mode, we're going to see first and second change. Kind of like magic here, and I'll tell you what's happening. Let's do shop. Okay, so inside of add numbers, we have first number and second number, 42 and 99. We're going to see they change. Right now we have 52 and 89. 52 and 89, and we'll return the sum. When we come back to main, first and second are 42 and 99. So what happens when you have an argument here that is a primitive type? It's a double, it's an int, it's a float, it's a char, right? All those ones that come out in nice orange here, right? Those are primitive types. They're actually getting copied. So when I give it first number, first and second here, they're getting a copy of 42 and a copy of 99. Yeah, method is a block of code that you can call, for sure. And we've been calling methods all along, but now we're going to write them ourselves. So instead of using keyboard.nextLine or double.parseDouble, we're writing our own method to do something. And it's either going to return something or void does not return something. So when you pass an argument here that is a primitive type, you actually get a copy. Okay, that's called pass by value, is our technical term for it. Okay, so we're passing it by value. They're getting a copy of the value. So you can't change the original first number, second number, because they got a copy of first and second. So primitive types like int and double are passed by value copies. Ints, doubles, floats, chars, like these orange ones here. Yep, those are the primitive types. What's different though, if you pass a string is not a primitive type. A string is an object, and that's why we get all those cool methods like dot to uppercase or dot to lowercase or dot equals ignore case, right? We can do all sorts of cool things with strings. When you pass a string, you're not passing a copy of the string. Now, strings are special though in that they are immutable. Remember, you can't change a string. You can say, hey, this string equals a new string, and Java will go out in memory and make a brand new one. So if I said, hey, after this item name equals apples, it's going to change where item name points in memory. So what happens here, let me clear this out. When you say string item name equals oranges, right? What Java does, it just says, hey, operating system, I need some memory, and the operating system will give Java some memory, like x337f, why not? Item name points to this location in memory, and what's at that location in memory is oranges. Okay? If you go say, hey, item name now, item name equal apples, it doesn't change what's here because it can't change, right? When you have a string, you can't change it in place. So it makes a new address. It says, hey, give me more space. Give me a place here like x429b. Why not? And I'm going to put apples there. And now item name, you don't point here anymore. You point over here. So what's passed for item name is the reference to memory. It is not passed by value, it's passed by reference. We're saying, hey, here's where this string is in memory, call it item name. But saying, hey, item name equals apples is not going to change item name outside of this method because it's immutable. So when I said, hey, item name is oranges at 337f, this was in, say, in main, right? I set that. And if my method over here gets past item name, it says, hey, here's a reference. item name, you point over here. If it changes it, item name inside the method will change. Item name inside main does not change. Item name inside of main is stuck pointing here. You can't change the item name in main by changing the item name in the method. The method item name will point to a new location, because item name is just a variable that stores, hey, where's this string? And if you change the string, you say, hey, you equal apples, it needs to put it in a new location in memory. The previous variable in the other method, in main, is still pointing to where it left off. You're not changing this pointer here. This pointer cannot change. Right? It's stuck. I point at this. This is where my value is. You can change the method item name. Yes, you can have a different item name to each method as its own string. Yeah, so inside the method, you can change its value, and it will point to that new location. But outside the method here, like this item name is not going to change because it's pointing at wherever this location in memory is. Whatever we got back, this one returns a string. Here's where this string is in memory. This item name will point to that location. Oh, Shift Alt F, right? Shift. Nope, shoot. Why isn't that formatting right? There it goes. There's the format. Yeah, so when you pass it item name, it says, hey, here's this place in memory. And if you change item name doesn't point here anymore. It says, oh, okay, don't point there anymore. Forget that. Point to this new one here. Yeah, you got it, Zero. You got it. So that's passed by reference. So if it's not a primitive type, we're passing it by reference. So primitive types get copies. Anything else, any object, gets passed by reference. So strings, you could pass the scanner object keyboard. That's an object. You could pass keyboard to a method if you wanted. And it's not very interesting, but you could. Okay, so strings are special because they're immutable. They're a little tricky like that. Okay? How you folks feeling so far? We're just further expanding our toolkit, right? A method is another way for us to be able to solve problems, right? They're great because they put a name to what's happening. They're great because they're reusable. They're great because we can have arguments and that the exact same thing can happen with a different argument. So if I'm going to prompt for the price of 10 different items, well, the only thing that's different is the item name. That can be an argument to my method here. So the rest of the code can be the same. This won't change the value of item name in main. Yeah, it's okay. It's a whole new thing to look at. Definitely go read the chapter. If you folks can, it's helpful to read the chapter before class. Definitely. So like the things I talk about make a little bit more sense because you've heard about it once before. But I find that, you know, I'll tell people that and almost no one does. So I gave up on that. So yeah, hearing it for the first time, it's gonna mind blown, right? Hearing it for the second time, the third time, right? Reading the chapter, reading Gaddis, looking at his examples, and then seeing it sticks a little better. Okay. Zero, that's gonna be a problem for sure. Yeah, getting behind in the reading is gonna hurt real bad. That's why we have the weekly quizzes. That's supposed to be your incentive to read the book. To keep up on those quizzes. That's kind of the goal with the quizzes. They should be free points. They're open book, right? Open notes. Yeah, so I went to quizzes every week instead of just telling people to read the book. So that way the people who do read the book kind of get that advantage. They get some points for it. Okay, thoughts, other concerns? Again, you don't have to use this for project 2, right? I've just going through some examples. Thought it might be familiar and on your brain, on the top of your head, if you're working on project 2 already. Go to my 1500 repo methods. Okay, there's a whole other piece about Java documentation. It's fantastic. You might use it depending. It really depends on the organization. It's not hard. It's super easy to pick up. And again, we're not going to bother with it because I don't need for you to write comments. I want you to write working code. Okay, but know it exists. Read about it in the chapter. It's good to know. And if you ever need to do it, sure, it's not hard. Okay. That's actually it. Chapter 5 is relatively short. Not too much to it. So it's a big idea, though, this idea of having all these methods. Right, so public static for now. Void if it doesn't return something, or type that it does return. So you can return strings, you can return doubles, you can return anything, really. Any type you want, any object you want, you can return. Next chapter, that'll be a little bit more useful. Okay? Yeah, the reviews are great, for sure. Don't forget study group this week at 5 o'clock, 5 to 6 on Wednesday. I'll get you your bonus points for attending study group. Right, I think that's all we got tonight, actually. It's not too shabby. Yep, with our amazing SI Tim. Thankful to have him along. Let's see. Who is around? Is anyone around? Well, if you want your head to hurt, we can go check out Rob. He's doing more of his boost class. He's doing some really cool stuff there. Ooh, paleontologizing. He's a lot of fun. Talking about dinosaurs. Let's go check that out. He's a lot of fun. All right. Reach the end of file while parsing means you tried to read a line and there was nothing there. KevMac. So either you already read all of it or it was empty. Okay, I do have office hours tonight, 10 to 11 p.m. Happy to chat as well. We got the rest of the class time too. If you folks want to chat or set up individual meetings or anything, just let me know. But in terms of talking about methods, we've covered all the stuff from methods. No, lots of people have questions for sure. Bring the questions. Bring the questions. All right, so we'll send a raid off for fun. I'll be around on Discord. Got office hours tonight, 10 to 11. Come drop by, talk tech, ask questions. We'll see what's going on. Project is due next week, 6 p.m. All right, folks, take care.
The flight muscles. Those are like,